This HOA Karen destroyed my trash can 57 times with her $60,000 Escalade, so I replaced it with a concrete one and watched her destroy her own SUV instead. What started as morning property demolition ended with criminal charges, a $12,000 settlement, and one very expensive life lesson about picking the wrong neighbor to bully. Picture this: the sharp crack of plastic shattering echoing through the dawn silence, followed by the metallic scrape of bumper-meeting asphalt as her pearl-white Escalade sped away, leaving my garbage scattered like confetti across the driveway. Yet again. And the worst part, she always did it with that smug little smile, like ruining my mornings was her personal sport. Neighbors would peek from behind curtains, whispering about how the HOA president was just enforcing rules, but everyone knew it had nothing to do with rules and everything to do with her obsession with me. Every single day, I'd walk out to a trashed driveway, the smell of spilled garbage hanging in the air, while she rolled off pretending she was some kind of authority. I kept my calm, but deep down, I was boiling. Because here's the thing about bullies: they thrive on thinking you'll never fight back. But what Karen didn't realize was that every broken trash can was building toward the day I'd stop being her victim and turn the game on its head. And when I did, the entire neighborhood would see her empire of control crumble in one crash. The attack started small, almost laughable at first. A scuff on the lid, a dent on the side, things you could brush off as accidents. But then the accidents became patterns, the kind you can't ignore. Every Monday morning, like clockwork, my trash can would be tipped over, dragged halfway into the street, or left crushed against the curb. The neighbors whispered excuses, saying maybe the garbage truck clipped it, or kids were messing around, late at night. But I knew better because I started noticing the same thing each time: the tire marks, thick, curved, and always stopping just short of my driveway. And not just any tire marks, but the kind you'd expect from a massive luxury SUV. There weren't many of those in our neighborhood, except for one: a pearl-white Escalade driven by none other than our HOA president, Karen herself. At first, I told myself not to make assumptions. But then I caught her. Early one morning, before the sun even rose, I stood by my window sipping coffee and watched her pull right up to the curb, rev her engine, and slam into my can like it was a personal target. Plastic cracked, trash flew, and she laughed to herself, as if it were the highlight of her day. She didn't see me watching, but I saw enough to confirm what I'd suspected all along. She wasn't enforcing rules, she was waging a one-woman war on my driveway. 57 times she did this, each strike bolder than the last, until I realized something important. Karen thought she was untouchable. She thought her title as HOA president gave her immunity. But she forgot one very crucial detail. I wasn't the type of neighbor who stayed quiet forever. Now here's where things took a sharp turn. I'd had enough of sweeping up shredded plastic and bent metal every morning, so I decided if she wanted to keep playing this game, she was going to play by my rules. I went down to the hardware store, bought bags of concrete, a steel frame, and spent the entire night building what looked like a perfectly normal trash can. To anyone walking by, it was just another plastic bin sitting quietly at the curb. But inside, it was solid rock, anchored into the ground like a permanent monument to her arrogance. That morning, I positioned it exactly where she always aimed, her shiny Escalade, then stepped back and waited. The sun was barely creeping over the rooftops when I heard the familiar growl of her engine. She came flying down the street like always, wheels angled perfectly for my trash can. Only this time, instead of the satisfying crunch of cheap plastic, the air exploded with the sound of metal colliding with concrete. Her bumper folded like cardboard, her headlights shattered, and her pristine pearl-white SUV groaned in protest as it skidded sideways across the asphalt. The best part? She didn't even stop right away. She tried to drive off like nothing happened, but the grinding screech of her mangled bumper against the pavement gave her away. I stood there on my porch, coffee in hand, watching calmly as the HOA's self-appointed enforcer realized she had just destroyed her own car trying to destroy my property yet again. For once, the trash wasn't scattered across my driveway. Instead, it was her dignity, lying in pieces right there on the street. Now, you'd think the story would end with her wrecking her Escalade on my trash can fortress. But that crash turned out to be the tip of the iceberg. When the cops showed up to file the accident report, She tried spinning the usual story about how my trash can was illegally placed. Problem for her was that the officers quickly noticed it was exactly where the city requires it to be. She kept pushing, demanding. They cite me until one officer finally asked if she was even on the HOA board legally. That simple question cracked open the biggest scandal Pine Bluff had seen in years. Turns out, she wasn't just the compliance officer she always pretended to be. When the real HOA paperwork was pulled, her name wasn't anywhere on the list of current officers. She'd been running her own fake version of the HOA, collecting fines, charging bogus fees, and funneling the money into her personal account. Over $47,000 had quietly disappeared under her watch, all while she strutted around barking orders about lawn heights and trash can placement. The crash gave investigators the perfect excuse to dig deeper. Within days, subpoenas went out, bank records surfaced, and neighbors who once feared her started lining up to testify. The woman who destroyed my property over and over had actually been destroying the community's trust for years, hiding behind a clipboard and false authority. By the time the dust settled, she wasn't just the neighbor who smashed her SUV into concrete. She was the fraud who got caught red-handed, and suddenly the entire neighborhood wanted to know how many more secrets she had buried behind those HOA notices. When it finally hit the courtroom, she didn't stand a chance. Between the video of her SUV crumpling against my concrete trash can, the police reports, and the mountain of evidence showing her fake HOA scheme, the judge barely needed an hour to make a decision. She was ordered to pay me $12,000 in damages, cover court costs, and face criminal charges for embezzlement. The woman who once paraded around like the queen of the neighborhood left that courtroom as nothing more than a cautionary tale. As for me, I got more than just a check. I got peace. The endless early morning crashes, the scattered garbage, the constant tension every time I pulled into my driveway. All of it ended with one solid swing of accountability. Neighbors who used to whisper behind curtains now wave when I walk by, and the HOA, the real one, has put in safeguards so nothing like this ever happens again. Bullies thrive on fear, on making you think you're powerless. But sometimes, all it takes is the courage to push back and a little concrete evidence to prove that the loudest voice isn't always the strongest one.